Evcol. Parking by Vasil Mihail.
This is the Leaf Blower 3000, my weapon of choice against autumn.
Now, where is the exit? Is it this way? Ah, yes, there's the sign. And along here, it's nice and clear. Love it when a car park is empty. Good that they left early. And the exit and payment booth is... I see it. And if I pull up close, I can hand the attendant my ticket. Just a little closer. And there she is, chatting on the phone, just like everyone else. Not noticing she has a customer. And still I wait and wait. Take your time. Don't worry. Of course, if I were in a hurry, you would have to hurry up too, but here we are. I'm not in a hurry. Actually, even if I were in a hurry, you wouldn't have to hurry, but of course, in the end, you would have to do your job with optimal or at least the minimal speed which is imposed onto you by your employer. That's probably in your contract, unless you yourself are the owner of this car park, but then again, you still certainly have a work contract, which also means there are rules, and that is why you can't be excused of your duties and the diligence of their execution. The fact that you are perchance the owner doesn't release you from an owner's duties and the obligation to follow the labor laws, although from the aspect of a worker you also are not excused from the obligations of the current contract which you have made with yourself. Of course, the chance of you not being the owner of the parking is not excluded. Yeah, that might be another person, male or female, which does make quite a lot of difference. If the person is male, one factor is his marital status. And let's not talk about the even more important factor, the status of the company, which is determined primarily through the bank account, settled installments for possible loans. But imagine, the company may even be bankrupt. So in that case, now you work for past debts. Of course, you are being paid for this, but in the given situation, the owner isn't the owner. You have some sort of bankruptcy trustee who has probably liquidated many similar companies before. So this is a routine for him. And he doesn't care if you do your job properly or not. He or she isn't even thinking of how much it would take to repay the debts, because they're getting their salary, which I imagine will stop once the company is liquidated. And that isn't good for them. So they will try to prolong the alleged liquidation process for as long as possible. But I don't insinuate that your case is like the situation I have just described. For example, what would happen if we assumed that instead of a male owner, you have a female owner who is not as strong in the looks department and infinitely jealous of your attractiveness? That's probably why she hired you, so that she could order you around in the workplace, watching you sitting in this booth all day. To be honest, you look like someone who is overqualified. Maybe I'm wrong, but my intuition says this is so. You know that unexplainable feeling which persistently tells you that a certain thing is exactly like that, without even the smallest bit of evidence. Believe me, I'm not that type of person. I don't believe in such stories.
Your card, sir.
Which one? I have a Visa, Master, American Express, and 2 more. I can only show them to you, but not both sides, because you could see the secret code. I say secret, but even I don't believe that. Honestly, nobody believes it, because how can something be a secret while it is clearly visible? Literally visible. I mean, of course, it is visible only to those who can read it. Nonsense. I mean, in fact, it's visible to everyone, but comprehensible only to those who can read. You know, there are lots of people who can read but don't understand. It's a phenomenon which I've named a comprehended incomprehensible comprehensibility. Or in other words, a bald head. Oh, yes. That was making me laugh too for a whole month. Yes, I know it sounds confusing, but it's like that because we people are inclined towards interpreting things as agreed. A bald head is a head without hair, and it has seemingly nothing to do with understanding when it comes to reading, but I'm confident that it isn't like that. If you have a couple of more minutes to spare, I will gladly explain. Maybe it will only take a minute, maybe less. I've never measured. But how could I even measure that when I've only been thinking about it and never spoken it out loud? Of course, we all know that the flows of thoughts and words have different time continuums. But that is a different subject. Let's continue with the one we already started. You know, there are a lot of people that easily change the subject. And believe me, they don't always do it accidentally. On the contrary, they often have a great benefit from it. I am convinced that you are also familiar with these types of people, but of course, they aren't the subject of our conversation, which, to be honest, is becoming more pleasant by the minute. These days, it's very hard to find a good listener. Not only for one's problems. For such things, there are never really any good listeners, but I'm talking about everyday conversations, even unusual ones, those full of enigmas and philosophy. The time we live in is sad sometimes. Dialectic is first transformed into monolectic, and after that into dyslectic, which leads me on to think about my bald head. No, not literally my head. I've never been bald. I'm talking about my head that can be anyone's head. To be more concise, I can say that even though my head isn't bald, it can be in the place of a bald one. In other words, I can be in anyone's head. Inside. Do you understand? Of course, it's different if my head is in the place of another head or I'm inside the other head. It sounds confusing, I know, but it's simple. I'm in everyone's head that's thinking about me, and in everyone that I'm thinking about. You see? Now it's clear as clear can be. Although my head can be in place of another in many cases. One of them, for example, is if I haven't learned the alphabet, or I have learned it and I know how to read, but I haven't learned the meaning of words. I know that you will instinctively think that this is absurd, and that it's impossible for someone to know how to read and not to know what they're reading, but that's not the case. I'm 100% sure that this is highly possible, and I can back up this claim with evidence too. The law, for example. It is concisely written, yet everyone interprets it differently. Especially in this section of laws of prohibition, where everything that isn't forbidden is allowed. The same words have different meaning according to where every head is positioned. If the head is standing on a hill or maybe a mountain, the air is fresh there. Oxygen runs through the blood quickly, moving through the small capillaries in the eyes. It clears up the vision and the words become clearer. But on mountains and hills, there can be snow and wind. Those are circumstances that additionally worsen the situation. If the head doesn't predict that, the whole clearness becomes muddy, especially if the head is bald. A bald head doesn't deal with cold temperatures very well. The advantage of the bald head is that it doesn't have problems with lice. Those pesky little vampires, which nobody knows why in our modern times, mostly attack children. Maybe some scientists have done research why it is so, but I can assure you that they do so because they have nothing better to do. Because, as you can see, the lice are still there. Fortunately, I know the truth, and I know this because I don't have a bald head. They torture children because of two reasons. The first reason is that children have pure thoughts, and that makes their blood pure too, which is a great advantage for the little devils to breed. The other reason is because there aren't any bald kids, so parasites know that their new living space is guaranteed. Of course, there are those types of parents that shave their kids' heads, but those cases are a different issue that requires research. I realized these things when I was a kid. Yes, I was a kid too. I know it sounds incredible, but it's the truth. I think that's the reason why I didn't go bald. But I remember back then, when my parents parked at similar lots like this, I was sitting in the back seat, in those child safety seats, tied up with a seat belt, being in motion but tied up. To be moving quickly and yet standing in one place. Back then, I used to think, what are these sticks that constantly go up and down? The cities are filled with them. You have to pay to go through them. My parents work so they can get money and pay for these sticks to rise and drop. While they're working, I'm in a room with other children and all of us have lice. This world is really weird. Back then, I used to bang my head to destroy the lice, but with no success. Later, I had read that they were capable of withstanding huge amounts of weight, and that the banging of my head just stimulated them to grow bigger. Luckily, that ended up for the better. One day, they grew up so big that my head couldn't sustain them anymore, so they left. I suppose they moved to some huge hairy head. There are kids with those, trust me. In order to save themselves, one day they have to go bald. It's a beautiful day today. I hope your shift ends soon, so you'll have enough time to go somewhere outdoors. It's really nice to be outdoors. Not many things are visible, yet there is an abundance. Your smile is very sweet. Did you practice that, or it comes naturally?
I beg your pardon?
I said, which card would you like to see?
The parking card?
Oh yes, but why?
What do you think, why?
I'm not sure.
Guess.
Maybe because you want to go for a walk in the park with me.
What do you mean?
You want to take my parking card, swipe it through the machine in front of you, tell me how much I need to pay, I'll reply with, sure, no problem. You press the next button, and when the boom gate goes up, I pass with my car, you go outside into freedom, you get in my car then becomes our car. In other words, we become its possession, because it takes us on a journey. We are moving while standing still. I mean sitting. We drive ourselves to the nearby park. There's a similar parking lot like this, where I park this car, already ours, and after that we can go for a walk. We can get some popcorn. No, popcorn is for the cinema. It makes that crackling noise that annoys everybody. That's why I think the volume in the cinema is turned up so loud, because of the popcorn business. It didn't used to be like that back in the days, you know. Of course, we can always drink tap water from the fountain for free.
But it's not free. With every nail polish, hair dye, eyeshadow, panties and socks that I buy, I pay for that water. And I've always asked myself why it is so. Why do I have to pay for something that exists either way? Even if it didn't exist. They built that fountain at some point and it started existing. We pay for something that exists. Isn't it weird?
Then we don't have to drink water. We could chow down some sunshine.
I would like to, but I didn't bring my cutlery.
Don't worry, that's why your unpaid Jean has an extra set in the car. It always comes in handy in this type of situations.
Is your name Jean?
No, but that's how I'm registered in the documents.
Well, that's incredible. I'm also registered as Jean in my documents.
In that case, there's nothing left for me to think except the fact that you're my lost twin sister. I'm sorry, maybe I'm the lost twin brother.
I mean, now I understand why I enjoyed listening to you talk. Every single word of yours seemed like it was told by me.
To listen and to hear is not the same thing. If you want to, I can explain that. And of course, if it's okay with these 50 other cars, which are patiently waiting to give you their parking cards and pay, no matter, they won't go for a walk in the park with you.
All those people in the cars don't have anything better to do in their lives apart from waiting. In other words, their profession is to wait. They wait in endless lines at endless gates throughout the world. They wait to feed themselves, to go to the toilet. They wait for sleeping time. And even when they're asleep, they wait to wake up. They wait until they go bald. But I'm burning with desire to hear your explanation. To burn with desire is more than accomplishing your desire. But don't worry. I'll keep on burning. This is the happiest day of my life.
This was an Evcol Entertainment Clockwork Digital Studios original production, a part of the On Another Wavelength audio anthology series, featuring the voice talents of Leonora Haig and Will Harrison-Wallace, written by Vasil Mihail, directed and produced by Simon James Collier, series created and co-produced by Adam Dechanel. Soundscape design, Zachary Elliott-Hatton.